Hi, my name's Michelle. Welcome to Krav Maga Yale. I hope your summer's been going well, and today we're going to be learning something a little bit different. You probably haven't been exposed to very much in the past, and that's ground fighting. But before we get into it, make sure you drink lots of water and you have some water ready. Sign in the link in the description below every time you watch a video, and warm up. Let's get started. So we're actually just going to begin by getting our blood pumping a little bit, and we are going to do the level 1 fitness tests punch combination, which you can review right over here. In essence, we are going to be doing 100 punches. Now, the one little twist here is we are going to do this in our non-dominant stance. I'm right-handed, so my dominant stance is with my left leg in front and starting the punches with my left. So we're going to switch that up, and we're going to do the 10 punch combination 10 times, or however many times we're able to fit in a minute, okay? So I'm going to start a timer. Alright, so let's talk about the theory behind ground fighting. Now, the vast majority of fights, if you are really in a scenario where someone is trying to hurt you, end up on the ground. This is the point at which fights get messy. Fights get uncomfortable. They're not as neat. There aren't really specific things that you could do, like in a front choke where you can just quickly follow a combination and defend yourself, except for a few situations. And there's a general common logic that comes with ground fighting that I'm going to try to explain and teach to you today. Now, as a bit of a disclaimer, first of all, I hesitated a lot in thinking about how to make this video because ground fighting has several difficulties in teaching. First of all, it really is not in a lot of people's comfort level to be on the ground in this situation. Someone is literally sitting on top of you. I understand that not everyone is really comfortable learning that, so I don't even often teach it, in an in-person class. Second, it's literally hard to film because with someone sitting on top of you, it's quite difficult to get a camera angle that handles all of the things that are going on and that can actually translate how difficult the situation is to do. So the way that I'm going to film it is I'm not going to have an attacker on top of me. I'm just going to kind of explain, sort of like we did with the shrimping where I had kind of the table that I could push off of. I'm just going to kind of pantomime in that way. But then, if you want to, ask a friend or family member to try to sit on top of you in a way that I'll explain and try to actually do the defenses. But that brings us to part number 3. So ground fighting is important to know. However, it is one of the most dangerous parts of Krav Maga. Falling to the ground, we've learned. With ground fighting, it's also very dangerous because it's much more close quarters. So any punch that may feel like it's pulled may actually still have a really strong impact on the person defending. And also, it's a situation that most people don't feel, again, very comfortable in, and as part of that, they also might do things that are less safe. So really, really be careful. If you have hand gear, make sure to wear it. If you have mouth gear, something protecting your teeth, I recommend you wear it. But generally, practice on your own first without an attacker and really master the technique, and then you could practice together with an attacker who should really be cognizant of what they're doing and making sure they don't hurt you. Now, Also, ground fighting could seem really scary to a person because of the sheer fact that usually if an attacker is trying to hurt you, the attacker weighs a lot more than you, and so them sitting on you is a really difficult thing, so it seems, to get over. And then in the situation, many, victims unfortunately do exactly that. They just remain the victim and they stop fighting back at this point. That's not what we want to do. And so today we are going to learn the general defense for a ground fight. Now, in this scenario, you have been pushed back and you are on your back. An attacker is going to kneel kind of over your hips. So, kind of in a straddling position. In this scenario, you've already tried shrimping, it didn't work. The attacker is going at it, trying to hit you in some way. Might be slapping you, might be punching you. Actually, there's lots of different things that could be happening and you can't get out. They've pinned you basically with your hips. So pretend I'm lying down. Just kind of as a general rule of thumb, if someone is hitting you or aiming to hit your face, you can use the same kind of blocks that we did previously. So if they are slapping the sides of your face, this kind of block and this kind of block, those still work. If they're going to the front, this kind of block, you can't really step forward to stop it, but still this kind of block still works. You still want to be able to see your attacker through your arms, and you still want to be able to, retaliate if necessary, because from here you can punch really easily. Because it's so close range, elbows are actually super, super effective. Now, again, the first thing that you want to do is really going to be to get out of that situation, but if you really are stuck and you can only remember combatives and you can't remember the escape that we are going to learn, then elbows. Elbows are great. The attacker's probably going to be above me right over here, so this kind of elbow is great. Even though you can't pivot on your back foot in this kind of scenario, you can still kind of twist your hips potentially, or at least twist your shoulder and really impact them. If your arms are down, this is still possible. A palm heel to the attacker's face, very much still possible. If you can get in there, you really want to weaken the attacker, because anything that you do to distract them will make the next part of the defense easier. So, since I mentioned the blocks, let's just do a bit of review, okay? So let's just do 5 sets of all of the blocks. Just so you know, this is the video where we learn them, but let's just do some. Alright, great. So you got those blocks, you know what you're doing. Let's go to the mat. Now in this scenario, I recommend once again that you get a yoga mat or 2 and you roll them out. I'm just going to start with 1, but you could have 1 on the other side just so you have something to roll on. Now let me show you the situation. So basically, I have been attacked. There is a person who's able to put me to the ground and is sitting right here, right above me. So they might be leaning forward, their face, their arms would be around in this area. They would be kneeling over here. So I'm, either lying down. The first part that you're going to want to do is to kind of go like this. Now, that's helpful for several reasons. First of all, if you are able to prevent them from actually getting on top of you, and they've just kind of pushed you down, but they're kind of, over there, you might be able to take a leg up, push against their hips, and shrimp, as we learned in that video over there. So shrimping is super helpful to get yourself out of the situation because you're very vulnerable here. However, let's say shrimping doesn't work. Let's say that, these kicks, which you learned over there, also didn't work. You're stuck here. Now, and they're kneeling over here. So as I mentioned, you want to block your face. So if they're up here, you can block. If it's kind of the sides, you can block like this. It's kind of unlikely that they would hit the lower sides over here, but You can also block them here, you know, and you can retaliate. This elbow's great, this elbow's great, you know, all of these. You know, be creative. No rules in Krav Maga, right? So, but let's say they're up here. So, you want to get out of this position. You don't want to be underneath an attacker who is actively trying to harm you. So, I'm going to do this with my left side. I think if you're righty, this is probably the best thing to do because it will require more strength on your right side, but it's kind of up to you. So, the attacker's here. Since they're kneeling, their legs are kind of going to be like this. So this is important. So you can see that your knees, you're kind of in between right here. So the first thing you're going to do is to take this foot and step outside. So you're effectively wrapping around their knee like this, latching on. So foot is flexed and you're going around. This could be done pretty quickly. The attacker may not even notice. And if anything, they're just going to kind of be locked in. That's going to be what they want. They'll be closer to you and more likely to attack you. Now, as soon as you've got a good grip, this becomes an anchor point. You really are going to be needing this point to be strong and to be used for the next part. Now, if your attacker is punching, they've got a lot of momentum. Let's say, you know, they punch kind of towards this side. You're going to take their arm and shove it past you like this and use that momentum while still anchored here to roll. Roll, 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 and roll over them. So now you are on top. You could end up here in the same position as them, or you could be kind of like half up. So let's go back. And you're going to wrap around, push, and roll. So you're pushing off of your right foot, and you're anchoring, and you're rolling over the left side. And in that case, you want to kind of make sure that they're punching towards your left. So wrap, anchor, and up. Okay. Now that you're here, you really want to make sure that the attacker is not going to hurt you anymore. You can throw in a couple punches, make sure that they're not going to try and do the same thing to you. Get your foot out of there because you're still anchored here, and then get up and get out of the way. So some smaller people, relative to their attackers, might not be able to roll onto their attacker, especially if they're first practicing. That's, you know, not ideal, but it's actually fine because, let's see, you wrap, you push. Let's say I pushed my attacker over there and then my momentum was only actually able to throw the attacker off. I might be too small to actually, you know, roll over there on top. That's fine, because I'm no longer underneath the attacker. Just be ready to get up, you know, maybe like a kick or something at that point might be more effective. But you really have to just be able to act fast, act quickly before they're sitting on you too heavily, and think on your feet, and then get on your feet. So remember, follow the rules of Krav Maga combat. Address the immediate danger, person sitting on top of you. Violently counterattack, you know, flip them over, punch them, you know, elbow them, etc., kick them. And then get out of there. Look for exits, weapons of opportunity, other attackers. Make sure that you are not in harm's way any further. So let's practice that a few times, just on the left side. All right, so they're up here. I have this blocked. Wrap, push, up, 1, 2, and away. Side, wrap, shove, up, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now let's switch. On the other side, it's the same principle. So now I'm wrapping my right leg around. The attacker's kind of going to be impacting me with what appears with their right arm, and I'm pushing it towards my right. So kind of pushing and up. 1, 2, 3. help you. Practice this with another person sitting on top of you. Try it out, experiment, see what timing is best for you and kind of what balance is best for you in general. But that should generally be the idea. And make sure to practice this pairing it with some of the falls that we've learned before, because likely this would happen immediately after a fall. Or with shrimping mentioned before. All right. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. But until then, stay safe in every way.